Now let's practice the entire procedure for guess and check, and in this video we'll work with trinomials where a happens to be the value 1. Here's our first one. See how you do. Step 1, I'm going to assume that the trinomial factors to do binomials, so I get my parentheses ready. Next, I have to decide which template to use. I notice that in this case the value of c is negative 11, and that means that I can't use either of the first two because for those c has to be positive. Since the value of c is negative 11, I can choose either one of these. I'm just going to choose the first one, and so one of these is going to be addition and one subtraction. Next, to make the y squared with my first product, I'm going to make a couple factors of y here. This will give me y squared when I start foiling. And that leaves the value of negative 11 coming from this last product right here. The only way to get a value of negative 11 would be to multiply 1 times 11 where one of them is negative. So maybe I'll try putting the 1 here and the 11 here. I have now guessed my two binomials. To check my work, I'm going to multiply. I'll get y squared minus 11y plus y minus 11. And when I combine my two first degree terms, I can see that I'll get a negative 10, not a positive 10. So this guess isn't going to work. I do see, though, that I'm very close. Instead of a negative 10, I needed a positive 10. So I'm going to start again. I'm going to put in the same operators. I know I need a couple of y's. But this time, what if I put the 11 first and the 1 second? Then I'd get y squared minus y plus 11y minus 11. And now when I combine these two first degree terms, I'll get 10y, just like I need. And so this is the factored form of the trinomial. Here's another. After building my parentheses, I decide on the two operators. I see that c is positive, which means it's one of these two, but that b is negative, and so I have to use this one, which tells me to use two subtractions. To make the k squared, I can see that I'll need a couple terms of k. That'll give me k squared when I do my first product. Last, I'll have to build an 8 out of these two terms. I can either use 1 and 8 or 2 and 4. Maybe I'll guess 1 and 8. This will give me k squared minus 8k minus 1k plus 8. And when I add my first degree terms, I notice I get a negative 9k, not a negative 6k. So that's not going to work. I try again. Here's my parentheses, my subtractions, my terms of k. Since the 1 and 8 didn't work, I'm going to try the 2 and 4. This time I'll get k squared minus 4k minus 2k plus 8. When I add these two together, I'll get a negative 6k. My trinomial will match the original, so there's my factored form. And here's the last one for this video. See how you do. I start with my parentheses. I notice that c is negative, so I've got to use one of these. I decide to use subtraction and addition. To make the y squared, I'll need a couple factors of y. And last, I'll have to work with the 15. The way to make a 15 with a couple factors is 1 and 15 or 3 and 5. I'm just going to start with the 5 and the 3, for instance. This is going to give me y squared plus 3y minus 5y minus 15. And I can see that that's going to give me a negative 2y when I add, which is exactly what I needed. So my first guess this time turned out to be correct. Well, that concludes this video where we've practiced some guess and check where the value of a happened to be a 1.